You walk into a room, maybe a small party or a work meeting. Everyone is smiling. The conversation seems normal, but you feel it instantly. A kind of weight, then unspoken tension hanging in the air. You see the forced posture, the slight clench in someone's jaw, the way their eyes don't quite match their laugh. Have you ever felt that? A kind of emotional static in the atmosphere that no one else seems to notice, but for you, it's almost deafening. Suddenly, you're not a guest anymore. You're an emotional seismograph, detecting the micro tremors of awkwardness that no one else feels. You're tracking the way the man in the green sweater grips his cup a little too tight when Molière Denci's Grandy speaks. It's an exhausting, silent job, and it feels like one nobody hired you for. But here's a thought. What if you're not being too sensitive? What if that exhaustion is simply the cost of running a highly advanced piece of perceptual software? This isn't a flaw, it's a specific kind of intelligence. In this video, we'll explore the signs you have it and uncover the compassionate reason why your mind was built this way. It starts with the invisible data you're processing. This isn't magic, it's a form of advanced social perception, what psychologists sometimes call affective empathy. While others hear the words, your brain is processing the entire orchestra of nonverbal communication. One observes the subtle shift in vocal pitch when a sensitive topic comes up. You're noticing the fleeting micro-expression that betrays a forced smile. You're subconsciously measuring the unspoken territory between people, their posture, their breathing, their physical distance. It's a constant, high-speed flood of social data, and what your brain does with all this information is remarkable. In psychological terms, what you're doing is constructing a live emotional map of the entire social environment. You're charting the invisible currents of power, connection, and unspoken tension all in an instant. This isn't just a social skill, it's a specific cognitive architecture, and it has a name. Psychologists often link this ability to a state called hypervigilance. This isn't necessarily a disorder. According to the American Psychological Association, this heightened sensitivity is frequently connected to navigating unpredictable environments early in life. This raises a crucial question. How does a mind learn to scan the world with such intensity in the first place? The origin is often a matter of survival. A child in a predictable home learns that words are reliable. But a child in a volatile environment learns a different truth. Safety isn't in what's said, but in the subtle shift of a parent's mood. That constant scanning for emotional data isn't a choice. It becomes an ingrained automatic program. But what part of the brain is actually running it? Deep inside your brain's architecture, the amygdala, your threat detection center, has been finely calibrated. It's no longer just a fire alarm for overt threats. It now operates like a sensitive radar, constantly pinging the social environment for the most subtle signals of instability. This isn't a flaw, it's a profound survival adaptation that creates an entirely different way of seeing the world. It's like this. Two people walk into a forest. A tourist sees the trees, the leaves, the sunlight, but the guide who grew up there sees something else entirely. They see the bent twig that means something large passed through, the faint track in the soil, the way the birds suddenly go quiet. The tourist sees a landscape. The guide reads a living story of safety and risk. In every social situation, you are the guide. But this powerful ability, this constant state of vigilance, also has a hidden cost. So how does this high-definition perception actually manifest? It isn't just about what you see in others, but what it reveals about your own internal architecture. The first sign is this. You process the nonverbal data that everyone else misses. It's not a conscious checklist. It's a subconscious alert. You see the fleeting frown on Molière Denci's Grandy's face the moment her friend shares good news. You register how the man in the green sweater's feet point toward the door, even as he insists he's having a great time. These aren't just feelings, they're data points, and there's a fascinating science behind why your brain is so good at catching them. This isn't speculation, this is documented. The psychologist, a doctor? Paul Ekman first researched these extensively, naming them micro-expressions. They're involuntary flashes of true emotion lasting just a fraction of a second. While most people are blind to them, a brain calibrated for vigilance is primed to catch these signals instinctively. But seeing these hidden emotions is only half the equation. The other half is how deeply you feel them. Which brings us to the second sign. You feel the vibe of a room shift before anyone says a word. This happens through a process called emotional contagion, powered by a highly tuned mirror neuron system. Your brain doesn't just see the tension in the man in the green sweater, a part of it experiences it. You aren't just observing emotions, you're absorbing them. And this constant emotional osmosis has a huge unspoken cost. This is the crucial reframe. That social exhaustion you feel isn't a sign of weakness. It's simply the cognitive cost of processing an entire layer of reality that others completely miss. This leads to the third sign. You instantly map the invisible social landscape. You see who defers to whom, what topics are off limits, and where the real power lies, long before anyone says a word. You're mapping the emotional architecture of the room in real time, but to others, this constant analysis can look a lot like you're jumping to conclusions, or worse, simply overthinking it. This brings us to sign number 4. You constantly anticipate people's reactions. When others call this overthinking, they're missing the point. It isn't your mind inventing anxieties out of thin air. It's your brain running complex social simulations, forecasting potential outcomes based on the thousands of data points you've already processed. This predictive ability is so powerful it's often mistaken for being a mind reader. But it's far more logical than that. You're not pulling thoughts from the air. You're a high-level pattern detector processing immense amounts of social data. And your system is especially sensitive to one critical signal: when the data doesn't match. And that brings us to sign number 5. You know when something is off. It's the profound mismatch between the words, "I'm fine," and the real data, the clenched jaw, the tight shoulders, the flat vocal tone. For you, it's an equation that doesn't add up. This incongruence is a blaring alarm. But this detection isn't passive, is it? It almost always triggers an urge to do something about it. And that urge manifests as sign number 6. You subconsciously adjust your own behavior to manage the room's emotional state. This isn't simply people-pleasing. It's a far more sophisticated process, an active subconscious attempt to create psychological safety. This impulse to restore equilibrium is actually the foundation for some of this architecture's greatest strengths. And those strengths are profound. This isn't just about avoiding conflict. It's the architecture of incredible empathy. It's what makes you a perceptive leader, a loyal friend, a partner who understands what isn't being said. You see past the surface-level performance and connect with the texture of who people really are. The connection is real, but it comes with an undeniable energetic cost. So how do we manage the price of this powerful gift? And that brings us to the 7th and most telling sign, a profound exhaustion after social interaction. Understanding this architecture is crucial, but the point is not simply to endure it. It's to learn how to manage it. The goal isn't to turn this ability off, but to manage the flood of input. Practice creating a cognitive boundary. Instead of internalizing the feeling, simply name it. I am sensing tension. This small act of observation creates a crucial buffer between their emotion and yours. It's the difference between being in the storm and watching it from a window. But these practical tools are often blocked by a much deeper story, the one that says you're not perceptive, you're just too sensitive. Let's confront that old story directly. Every time you were told that, or that you were reading too much into things, that was never the full truth. You were not too sensitive. Your environment may have been not sensitive enough. Your mind developed a survival strategy, and that strategy isn't a disorder, it's a testament. Let's reframe this once and for all. This heightened perception isn't a flaw, it's a feature. It is the carefully constructed architecture of a mind that learned to navigate complexity with profound awareness. This skill wasn't a mistake, it was a masterpiece of adaptation. And that leaves us with only one real question. The real question isn't whether you can read the room. We know you can. It's what you choose to do with that information and how you learn to offer yourself the same profound compassion you so easily extend to others. After learning this perception is a survival masterpiece, how do you now view the times you were told you were too sensitive? Answer in the comments below. I read and reply to every single one. In our next video, we'll explore the connection between this skill and the deep-rooted psychology of chronic people-pleasing. So subscribe and turn on notifications to see it first. Like this if you feel seen, and share it with someone who needs to hear this.